Hi everyone. Today let's talk about the debt ceiling deal and the liquidity issues. And then we have Mark Zuckerberg coming out and saying they're making big strides in AI. Then we'll get into Max Payne. Then we'll take a look at the charts, as well as my results for the day and my thoughts going into tomorrow's session. If you like trading stocks and options and making money, definitely like and subscribe. I make videos like this every single day that the markets are open, as well as Sundays, so make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. So the debt ceiling deal could definitely affect stock investors. I've seen this talked about a few different places, but I hadn't really seen an article on it. But basically the argument here is that because the government raised the debt limit, they're going to have to borrow more money, which means selling more treasuries. And some of that will be to the general market. Some of it will probably go to the Fed and overseas, but it's going to pull liquidity out of the markets potentially. And that's what they say here. Congress approved the deal, meaning that liquidity flows are about to flow back into the government and into government debt specifically. And while this is good for income investors, it is less so good for AI stocks. We don't know quite how much liquidity is going to get pulled out of the markets potentially. We did see a little bit of pullback in markets, and we've noticed some weakening, and we'll talk about that more on the charts. And then they go on to mention here, inflation is still high, labor income is still going up, 4.2% is still too high, and it's likely that we're going to see those higher rates for a while, again, keeping some liquidity out of equities. Moving over to Zuckerberg and Meta, they continue to tout their AI breakthroughs. He was out saying again that they are making big strides in AI, and that wasn't enough to pump the stock. So some of the AI excitement has come out of the markets here recently. He mentioned that he wants his workforce right in the middle of the AI race, and it seems like they're doing an okay job with that so far. He said they've made incredible breakthroughs, qualitative breakthroughs in AI, and that it's a great opportunity for their company. He said eventually they have plans to roll it out in combination with Messenger and WhatsApp. We'll see how all of this plays out, but it still seems like a little bit of a pump to me. They're definitely getting some value out of it, but I want to see more tangible breakthroughs. Moving over to the Fed futures, I haven't really been talking about these very much because they really haven't been moving very much. You can see they are just a point off of where they were a week ago. They fluctuated a little bit yesterday, but they're right back into that same range, about that 75-25 for a pause. Moving down to November, we're still not predicting a cut in November. And then looking at December now, we're still not looking at a cut. And then now January is that first potential cut from current rates. So if we get another hike, that could be potentially 2 cuts in January. But from current levels, you can see the highest percent chance is 1 cut at the January meeting. Moving over to Max Payne, hasn't changed much. Few more options, million puts, about 500,000 calls. Still a big put call ratio. 425 seems like the bottom. 428 seems like the top. And we're kind of sitting in that range. We talked about 431, 432 being that potential area where all of the puts expire worthless. Maybe we get one more week of that before we go into next week's OPEX. We talked about that in yesterday's video. There are tons and tons of options in the market, especially on SPY for next week. Huge amount of puts, so we're probably not going to go down before next week. So keep that in mind as you're trading. But for the close tomorrow, looking like we're going to sit generally where we are, maybe a point or two higher on the SPY. Moving over to the charts, starting with the S&Ps, you can see we are above my level, chopping just below these recent highs. At this point, it looks like we're going to push up into this next range, 431, 432, just like we saw on the futures where all the puts would expire worthless. If we get the breakout, could see about a 1% run. That would be interesting. Otherwise, we're still kind of consolidating in the zone right now. Momentum ticking towards bullish. Absolutely could flip bullish tomorrow. And like I said, above 428.59, I am bullish. Looking up to that 432, 433 range. Moving over to the NASDAQ, you can see we got the rally. We talked about that yesterday. I thought we would at least get a rally into the morning. We did get that, saw a slight pullback off of my 353.24 level, found support, and then rallied into that zone. We are above that level now after hours. Again, above that level, I'm bullish, looking for 353.93. Potential push through these previous highs up to that next high, certainly possible. Momentum looking to turn more bullish on the 4-hour chart. potentially a little bit exhausted here on the hourly. If we throw a big wick in the after hours and then the pre-market tomorrow and then we pull back below this level, that could be an indicator of a lower high or a wick through these previous highs, grabbing liquidity for a bigger pullback. Certainly possible, but right now we definitely saw some rally and we could see more follow through tomorrow, in my opinion. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, you can see the Russell pulled back a little bit, hit this trend support, and then rallied back a little bit into the zone. So we're kind of stuck between the trend line here. Trend is still very bullish. Momentum starting to fade. RSI definitely looking a little bit weaker. Needs to get below this level and start to fall back to that 183.28 level. Certainly possible. But with the strength that we saw in this rally, I would expect some buyers to come in around that level and then potentially push up to 189. That's really my price target right now, is that 189 level. But it does look like there's a little bit of short-term weakness. Dow rallied up to resistance, hit 339.11 like we've been talking about. Got a rejection from there. 343.23 is my next level of upper resistance. Get above this level, hold in the zone, take some longs, push into this next zone. That would be interesting. Nice little 1% move potentially on the Dow. If it rejects from this area, 335.91, and then trend support sitting at 334.50. Moving over to RSP, the equal weighted S&Ps. It's actually quite interesting here. You can see that the equal weighted S&Ps are gaining on the regular S&Ps. Regular S&Ps have been flat for a couple of days now, right at these highs. You can see that equal weighted is starting to catch up, making higher highs, stepping up, rallying off of VWAP or above that 145.08 level, starting to gain on the regular S&Ps, which is definitely what you want to see if this rally is going to have legs. Regular S&Ps catching up, giving you some good indicators to go long on the regular S&Ps in my opinion. Moving over to Apple and Tesla. Apple got back above trend resistance. Looks nice. Certainly could rally from here. Last time we had a pullback like this, we made some new highs. Potentially looking up to some trend resistance up around 192. That would be a huge move from here. Way above all-time highs. Momentum looking to turn bullish here. Certainly possible. If the biggest stock in the world is going higher, probably everything else is. At least the indices going higher. Tesla, huge move here today. This is the weekly chart because we continue to break out. Looks like we might be getting that gap fill all the way up at 265. That would be interesting. But they got a big deal with GM and it's rallying big here after hours. Momentum on the weekly, volume is up. Jumping down to the one-day chart, you can see what that looks like. Took out the low, rallied above my resistance line, and we're rallying here after hours. Tesla continues to be a rocket ship. Moving over to Roku and AMD. Roku found some support, had a bullish day, nice little rally there. Moving over to AMD, you can see we are still hovering in this zone. I threw some levels on here now, so looking at 132.45 above where we are right now. If we get above 124.40, if we get above that level, 138.94 sitting up there. So in this zone, holding the 55 EMA certainly looks like a potential for a ramp. And like I said, looking at a couple levels to the upside here on AMD. Moving over to staples and discretionary. Staples continues to find a base at this trend line and the 72.50 level. This looks pretty solid now. Looks like a double bottom, potentially pushing up to 74. If 74 breaks, we got a nice move up to 75.40 in my opinion. We also have VWAP sitting at 74.28. And the 21 EMA sitting at 74.52. So nice move back into this previous range. Looks like what we're going to get here on staples. Discretionary continues to run. Tesla is in discretionary, which is a little bit interesting. So Tesla driving up discretionary. Looks like 161.99 is going to break tomorrow. And there's quite a bit of room up to 166.78 for me if we get above that 162 level tomorrow. Moving over to oil and gas and utilities. We've been talking about these for a while now. Oil and gas threw a wick to the downside, found support, still above my level at 127.99. Down a little bit after hours, but this wick is encouraging to me. Tells me that buyers are starting to come in. Still looking at 135.07 as a potential price target. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish, everything looks good still. Utilities also showing strength. You can see that daily chart hitting my next level, 66.81. 67.18 is my next upper level. I'll start to throw some more levels on here if we get above those in tomorrow's video. But really, utilities looks very nice coming off of this kind of a triple or quadruple bottom, however you really want to look at it. Looks very nice going back up into this previous range around $69 to $70. Moving over to transports, you can see another very bullish day, continues to hold above resistance, got a test there in the pre-market and then rallied again. Did run out of steam, and it does look like we might be seeing a pullback to that trend support, but overall still looks very bullish, potentially looking for a move back into this 237 area, back at these previous highs. That looks quite possible. Momentum and RSI are bullish on the daily chart, again indicating that we should see some higher prices on the Dow tomorrow. Moving over to stocks above their 50 and 200 day averages here, you can see we got the breakout on both charts. We're above these downtrend lines, looking at 62.25 on the 50-day chart. And at this point on the 200, I'm looking for a push back into this 59 area, back at these previous highs. If that area breaks, then we're looking at the head formation that I was watching on this potential for a head and shoulders. I think this is invalidated at this point, and we're looking at a double bottom, and it looks like we should be pushing back up into this 76 area, back in these previous highs. That would be very bullish if we get this continuation, and it does look like that's going to happen. So bullishness on the IWM, bullishness on the SPY, in my opinion, is going to continue. Might see some pullbacks in the NASDAQ, but overall breadth is widening. Moving over to the dollar on the 2-year, you can see we got a huge leg down today, potentially in an area of support. I added this trend line here from this previous low on May 26th, marking the tops from this down channel, chop, and then reversal, and that now comes into this current low. If this breaks down, I'm still watching 102.98 as a potential support. Still could be a flag type setup, so I'm still watching that. And if this does rally back up to these previous highs and then potentially break out, that's going to be super bullish here for the dollar. But currently we're seeing bearish momentum, RSI pulling back here on the daily chart, a little bit of cooling on the shorter term RSI and momentums, potentially looking for a bit of a pullback into this area. Certainly possible. Overall, no major change to the thesis, just a big down day, very similar to what we saw on 1 June. Moving over to JNK and TLT. JNK rallying super aggressively, looks ready to take out these previous highs. Tested that 91 level, held, rally, looks good. Like to see a little bit more rally in JNK, show a little bit more risk on in tomorrow's session. That would be nice. TLT still holding in the zone. Talked about this yesterday. I think yields are going to kind of hold where they're at. TLT looks a little bit bullish. Kind of looks like a flag setup, honestly. I'll probably draw that on here later. But anyway, momentum, slightly bullish. Volume picked up here today on a bullish day. Maybe we see a little bit of a push back above 102.50, back up to 103.70, but not a lot of opportunity here in my opinion. Moving over to the volatility indices, not much to say. They continue to crater. We saw an update on the move yesterday, and that was quickly reversed here today. Bearish momentum, bearish RSI. Looks like we're going to continue lower here. And the VIX continues to crater, making lower lows. Bearish momentum and bearish RSI. Moving over to my accounts, did fairly well, couple $100. IWM, really haven't changed these positions. I still have a 186 put for tomorrow. I did take this off for a little bit during the day and then put it back on once we got back above 186. I did lose a little bit of money on that transaction, but you never know. Market could have continued lower. So overall, still looking at $1 credit on that for tomorrow. Otherwise, still have those 2 covered calls for tomorrow. We'll see if I end up rolling those or letting those go. Looking at the Qs, just have my covered calls here for tomorrow. At 352, I did go a little bit conservative with these. We're at resistance, and if we do get above resistance, I'll probably sell some more covered calls early in the session, but I thought we might see a little bit of a pullback from current levels, so I stayed conservative here. Otherwise, looking at XOP, no changes. 127 put, looking good. 129 call, looking good as well. I'd really like to see XOP rally tomorrow and get a max profit on that position, but even if I don't, I can always roll this call out in time and get a much bigger credit for the end of week next week. We'll see how that plays out, but overall still slightly bullish, but a little bit more neutral on the NASDAQ. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of the liquidity squeeze based on the debt ceiling or AI at Meta. Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.